Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My Karen mother-in-law demands my leftovers, so I called her a freeloader. After that, am I the jerk for the strict summer schedule I have my kids on? And after that, I'm paying for the room, so I can scream in there if I want. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to take anyone's leftovers. Who said I even wanted any, Reddit boy? So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My Karen mother-in-law demands my leftovers, so I called her a freeloader. For context, I was raised that whenever you go to someone's house for an event, like a cookout or a holiday party, etc., you should always bring something such as a side or a dessert or a bottle of wine for the hosts. If there are leftovers, they now belong to the hosts and they can do whatever they want with them. Say it's your job to bring soda to a barbecue. Any leftover soda is now for the host. My husband's family expects me to host every holiday party and cookout and foot the bill too. So I'm usually hosting for 15 to 20 plus people. For Christmas, I had to buy a $100 ham and then make all the sides, desserts, provide the drinks, utensils, etc. My mother-in-law and most of her family would always show up empty-handed with their own to-go containers and never lift a finger to help prepare or clean up. I am the mother of 3 kids and I work a full-time job, and it's the kind of job where I work holidays and weekends. Money started getting tight with all the inflation, and I'm just beyond exhausted. So I've been asking for everyone to either bring a side or dessert or drinks, and I will provide the main dish as well as all the utensils, etc., to help with our budget and to save me some time. This last cookout we had, I supplied the main dishes and a side. My mother-in-law begrudgingly brought a watermelon and her famous to-go containers. As I was cleaning up, she made sure to grab the remainder of my watermelon and then started to fill her containers with our leftovers. When I asked her politely to please not take it because it was my kids' favorite and they will be having it for lunch tomorrow, she implied that I was rude and inconsiderate. I lost it and called her a freeloader and said she's welcome to host and provide for everyone at the next cookout then. So, am I the jerk? Info. Why do you continue to host these gatherings that you clearly hate hosting and are full of resentment about? Because her husband can't say no to mommy. I would bet my money on it. If I were OP, I would come down with something just before or the day of the next big get-together, so she doesn't have to be around food. If the husband can't say no to his family, let's see him do all the work. Let him take on an extra part-time job is more like it. I'm normally all for being a generous host, but in this case, I would not provide anything but cheap hot dogs and buns, tap water, and paper plates. Let everyone sign up for a dish on a spreadsheet and then see what happens. Or even better, if they just serve a big vat of baked beans and nothing else. That will put a stop to guests bringing only watermelon. Do lock up your fridge and pantry though for this social experiment. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or everybody else? Please let us know. I'd sneak a little something special in their food, but I'm evil. Am I the jerk for the strict summer schedule I have my kids on? It's summertime, so while mom and I work, our 3 kids are at home, ages between 8 to 15. We were talking with other parents about what our kids do during the day, and some friends were shocked that I was being so strict during summer break. Here's why. They have to do chores every day. Chores include daily, cleaning the bathroom, the bedrooms, playroom, and any dishes, basically picking up after themselves. Monday, wash, fold, put up their laundry. Tuesday, sweep and vacuum. Wednesday, mow and weed eat the lawn. Thursday, nothing extra. Friday, sweep and vacuum. Monday through Friday, they wake up and run 1 mile and have 15 minutes to do it. If they don't make it in 15 minutes, nothing happens. I'm just giving them a very achievable goal. Electronics are turned off at 12:30 until we get home from work around 4:30. We have a pool and they have so many toys. They have things to do that don't include electronics. They have to complete the chores by 4:30, so they spend the morning playing Xbox or watching TV, eating lunch. They then do chores and entertain themselves. I don't want my kids just sitting in front of a screen all day because it's not healthy. Being forced to use your imagination isn't a bad thing as far as I'm concerned. I want them to run because they all play sports and they get gassed out rather quickly. This is the first summer we've done the mile thing, and I'm hoping it helps once fall sports start. I'm just trying to equip my kids the best way I know how. Other parents have made comments about how summer break is all about relaxing and getting to take a break from responsibilities. All fun. I felt conflicted, so am I the jerk? Edit. This was the exact response I expected. I showed my kids this thread too. They said they spend 30 minutes on chores most days and 15 minutes running. The 15-year-old relaxes most of the day and said the only time he feels like a parent is when the younger two fight and he has to break them up. 90% of the day is spent playing and 10% is work. They don't swim unless they're all together. They are literally learning to clean up after themselves. If they make a mess, it's cleaned up. I'm glad so many of you are in the financial situation to afford nannies, summer camps, daycare, etc., but that ain't us. We work together. When mom and dad are home, we do chores too, and on weekends, we all play together. Sorry, but are you running an army unit or a family? And you're leaving them all home alone? This is horribly unfair to your 15-year-old. You can equip them by not forcing them to be in charge of each other, providing supervision in the form of summer activities, and allow them to be kids. You're the jerk. Edit. I just noticed your comment about the pool. You're leaving the 15-year-old in charge of everyone else and suggesting that they go swimming? Someone should call the authorities, and maybe it will be your 15-year-old. You're the jerk. Running a mile every weekday morning and the youngest is 8? I get the picking up after themselves, but wow, this is a little extreme. You're the jerk, because you're making your 15-year-old manage the house alone for 8+ hours a day. First of all, that's too much. If they need exercise, put them in a summer sports program. A forced run first thing in the morning sounds miserable, like the worst gym class ever. Yikes. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk or not? Please let us know. Let me get this straight. You're raising your kids to have a strict set of values? To be responsible and healthy and happy? You should have known the people on Reddit weren't going to like this. Your kids are going to grow up to be pretty much the opposite of them. I'm paying for the room, so I can scream in there if I want. A few weeks ago, I was working one of my night audits during the week. At my hotel, the weekdays are normally calm as it's only workers staying with us, so they're sleeping all night. We'll occasionally get some night owls, but now that it's summer, we're getting more interesting people at the hotel. And oh boy, it's annoying. Roughly around 12:30 to 1 a.m., I get a call at the front desk from one of the rooms. Guest: I'm on the 3rd floor and something is going on across the hall. Sounds like someone fighting. Me: oh, okay, sorry about that. I'll go check it out. I walk upstairs and immediately could tell where it was coming from. I walk up to the door and it sounds like an all-out war is happening right in the room. Bunch of inaudible yelling. I knock on the door loud enough so they could hear. A woman swings the door open quite aggressively. Me: hey, we're starting to get some noise complaints. I need you to… She cuts me off. I'm trying to get my daughter out of the bathroom. She locked herself in there. Me: okay, well, that's not my concern. I just need you to stop yelling because we're getting noise complaints. Guest, directed at her daughter: get out of there. We're getting in trouble now. Me: ma'am, I really need you to stop yelling. Well, can you get my daughter out of the bathroom? Me: like I said, whatever's happening between you and your family is not my concern. I just need you to quiet down. Her daughter comes out of the bathroom in tears as I'm standing in the hallway, and the mom finally stops yelling, so I go back to the front desk. 5 minutes later, the mother leaves the hotel, and I can hear yet another screaming match in the parking lot. The yelling was echoing everywhere because they were so loud, this time between her and the husband. I didn't say anything because I'd rather them argue in the parking lot than the hotel. They both come storming in the lobby and aggressively stomp up the stairs. I swear, the stairs sounded like they were going to cave in. Mind you, it's now close to 1:30 a.m., so the hotel is very quiet besides them. Another 5 minutes pass, and I hear the arguing start up again. I try calling their rooms, but of course they didn't answer. So I walk up to the room, knock on the door, and they answer. I try telling them to quiet down, and they're causing issues for the hotel. They try explaining their family drama to me, thinking I could resolve it. They kept going on about, well, can you get my daughter to listen? Can you get my husband to stop yelling at me? I'm a front desk agent, not Dr. Phil. After they finally quiet down, I get back to the front desk to watch Netflix. Around 2:30 a.m., after running my reports, the mother comes by the front desk, surprisingly calm at this point, asking for a new key card. I give her a new card, and this conversation is what annoyed me the most. Me: here's the new key. By the way, if I hear more screaming or yelling, the police will be contacted. I'm not going to remind you all night. Guest: excuse me? I'm paying for the room, so I can scream in there if I want. It's not your business. Me: It is my business because you're disrupting the hotel. So like I said, if I hear screaming one more time, the police will be contacted. The guest just angrily walked away, and I didn't hear anything from them the rest of the night. Don't get me wrong, I understand stuff happens and families will argue. But don't ask hotel staff to fix your personal issues and then get mad when you're told the police will be contacted because you're so loud. Your actions have consequences. Welcome to life. Am I the jerk for not letting my sister announce her pregnancy at my wedding? Me, 28, and my sister, 32, have never really gotten along that well. My parents were divorced, and so we never really spent much time together during our childhood. Once we got in our early 20s, though, that changed, and we actually got pretty close. Both of us were in serious relationships, and we would always talk about our dream weddings. Fast forward a few years, and my sister was finally getting married to her high school sweetheart. I've never seen her so happy, and I knew this was going to be one of her most cherished moments in life. That was until my jerk of an ex-boyfriend proposed to me at my sister's wedding. Needless to say, I absolutely had no idea. I rejected his proposal and ended up leaving him after a few weeks of him showing no signs of him being sorry at all. My sister was rightfully upset with the both of us because in her eyes, we had just took away her spotlight on a day she's been dreaming of for years. I felt so bad that I ended up giving her around half of what she paid for the wedding. A little much, I know, but when you have your whole family against you, you'll do anything for things to go back to normal. It took a couple of months, but our bond came back and I ended up meeting my now fiancé. Our wedding is in a couple of weeks, and my sister has been making jokes about announcing her pregnancy at my wedding. At first, the jokes were funny, and I thought they had no real threat to them. But after today, it was pretty clear she was not actually joking. My mom called me telling me that my sister said she was going to announce that she was pregnant during the speeches part of our wedding to get back at me for what I did during hers. I texted my sister saying that it was completely unfair to not just me, but especially to my fiancé, and neither of us were to blame for what my ex did. She won't hear me out, and I told her if she won't drop it, then she won't be allowed at my wedding. I guess she's been crying to all our brothers and saying I'm a jerk for not only ruining her wedding, but for not letting her get a tiny bit of revenge. I get it. It must be hard to have that happen at your wedding, but how should it be my fault? I didn't tell him to do it, and my now fiancé definitely didn't either. My dad and brothers said I was being petty and that it was only fair I let her do that considering what happened at hers. My fiancé is on my side though, and thinks it's best I don't let her come, or at least not come to the reception. I know it might seem a bit unfair for me to not let her get back at me, but I didn't pay the $15,000 pity money just for her to try to ruin my wedding years later. We're both adults, and at this point I think I could be being overdramatic. A pregnancy announcement and a proposal are two very different things, but I won't lie and say it wouldn't hurt my feelings if she did do that to me. Not the jerk. Tell her if she gives back the $15,000 she can. Yup, this. And let the family know that's the stipulation since they're all sticking their noses in. What your ex did wasn't your fault, and you've made amends the best way you can anyway. $15,000 is a ridiculous amount of money to pay to soothe her hurt feelings. Can you please hurt my feelings so I can get a payout too? If sister really insists to the point where you feel like you really have to give in or split the family, have someone announce her pregnancy once everyone is seated in the church, but before the wedding starts and you and your bridesmaids walk down the aisle. That way, she gets her little revenge announcement, and then the wedding will start and all the attention will return to you and your fiancé, as it should be. If she won't agree to this, do it anyway. After all, you had no control over what happened at her wedding. Why should she get to control what happens at yours? Am I the jerk for telling my fiancé that he will cook his own dinner from now on? My fiancé, 36 male, and I, 33 female, of 4 years, together for 6. Both have a kid from a previous relationship. One is 12, the other is 16. He recently had a health scare, diagnosed with prediabetes. His father passed from diabetic complications a few years ago. Therefore, he went vegan like a year ago. Our family has fully supported his change. We even bought another fridge to keep his food in. He now tries to inflict his lifestyle on us. It's not like we haven't tried any of his meals before, it's just not our choice. Anytime now we eat something he disagrees with, he goes into a lecture about how it's not good for your body and what it consists of and what we need to change. I'm talking about literally every time. I've tried to be understanding because he's dealing with something that took his father, but every time? Imagine you're about to eat a delicious piece of chocolate cake. I kid you not, he will go into how many calories you're about to eat and what it's going to do to your body. especially when it's dealing with something sugary. A nice juicy steak? Red meat is the devil. A piece of fried chicken? Grease is going to seep out of your pores. Our kids avoid being around him now when they're about to eat a snack of some sort. I've tried to talk to him about how he's making everyone uncomfortable in the house to eat around him, but he brushes it off and calls it a guilty meat eater complaint. He said if we were eating right, we wouldn't feel guilty about what he says. For the past couple of months, he's been, paranoid if you want to call it that. He thinks someone is messing with his food, claims that it tastes funny, accused me or one of the kids of touching the settings on it, which is possible, but I highly doubt it's happened, since neither of our kids are vegan. He and I are the only ones that go in and out of the fridge the most. The only time they even go in the fridge is if one of us asks them to hand us something out of it. A few nights ago, I cooked dinner as usual, only this time I was accused of contaminating his food with meat drippings. I was accused of trying to revert him back into a meat eater, that I was endangering his health. He demanded to know what skillets I used. I've always cooked our meals in different pots and pans, just to avoid a situation of such. I have a sister that's vegan, so it's not my first rodeo. Tired of the accusations, I told him from now on he can cook his own dinner. That I'm tired of him trying to inflict his lifestyle on us. That just because he changed his eating lifestyle doesn't mean he gets to force it on us. He told me that I was being selfish, that I was unsupportive, and that I want to see him fail. I told him that's not true, but if he was going to act this way, then it's best he cook his own food, and I'm not budging on this matter. He's been sleeping on the couch since then, refusing to talk to me. Not the jerk at all, but I would be very worried about his mental health. He needs to see a psychologist and a nutritionist, not the jerk. Based on subsequent messages from others, I want to clarify that the husband needs to see someone who is a clinical, licensed dietitian who can guide him in determining what nutrition his body needs to function optimally. Though first, he probably needs a medical workup to determine if he has any underlying issues that are causing his behavioral problems, thanks to those who pointed out the correct professional needed and the need for medical evaluation. Not the jerk. By the sounds of it, he's headed towards a mental breakdown or is in a heightened state of paranoia. Accusing someone of tampering with their food isn't a common thing to say to someone. I would suggest he sees a doctor. Make sure he's getting all the nutrition he needs from his vegan food and that he's not acting this way because something in his body is not functioning properly due to his diet. Also, a psychologist seems like a good idea as well. Maybe this paranoia is caused by some underlying emotional issue he's not talking about, and this is how it's coming out. All in all, it sounds like he needs the kind of help which you aren't able to provide. Coworker waited for hours after my shift so that I would give her a ride home, even after I said no. I, 19 female, work at a library. I work in the kids department along with older coworkers, think 30s to 50s, as well as other teens. I've been working there since high school, which is how I know Melanie, 18 female. To put it bluntly, Melanie and I are not friends. We used to be friendly back in high school as we had a couple of the same friends, and we've both been working in our job for years. I would definitely not call us friends currently though, due to Melanie's attitude. She's that type of person who will ask for a favor, and if you refuse, she'll act like a complete jerk to you. Once in high school, she asked me for a ride home, but I said no, as I had a track meet or something that day and obviously couldn't take her. She huffed and stormed off, glaring at me for like a week before she came back like nothing had happened and asked me for a ride home again. It's clear too that she doesn't really see us as friends, as when we work together, she'll ignore me completely or just glare at me, only talking to me if it's something involving our job or if she needs something. If she needs something from me, then suddenly we're best friends and she'll chat with me like nothing happened. So yeah, I don't really like her. To the main story. I came to work yesterday afternoon, like 2:30ish, and Melanie was there. Our shifts alternate slightly, where there's like an hour where the two of us are both working before she leaves and I continue my shift. I hadn't seen her since we graduated, so we spent a few minutes catching up. She then asked me if I could take her home after her shift ended. I was obviously confused, as I still had hours to go before I was done with mine, and I told her such. She then implied that I could use my break time to drive her, and I honestly laughed out loud because I thought she was joking. A. Our breaks are 15 minutes long. It would take 30 minutes to drive there and back from her home without traffic. Realistically, it would end up taking like 45 minutes to an hour because of how heavy traffic our area is. B. Who wants to spend their time off driving someone home? Melanie was shockingly not joking though, claiming that it would be doable and that she really needed the ride because she had to be home and her mom couldn't take her. I said no, sorry, but no way that's happening. Melanie stormed off and ignored me for the rest of her shift before she, I assumed at the time, left. I didn't think much more of the situation, a little amused at her audacity, but whatever. Eventually, my time to leave comes, so I wave bye to my coworkers and head outside. That's when I see Melanie sitting outside on one of the benches. She immediately perked up after seeing me, running over while I just looked at her. "You're leaving, right? Can you give me a ride?" I was shocked. I flat out asked her if she had been waiting for practically 4 hours for me to leave even after I said no. She said that no, she walked to our nearby town to do some other things before she came back here. But in my opinion, that still counts as her waiting for me to drive her home. I was creeped out and honestly ticked off, since it felt to me like she was trapping me and playing the "you're leaving so you can take me too" card. It took everything in me to not yell or even book it to my car. I calmly told her that I had plans after work. No, I could not take her home. And honestly, it was insane that she would just wait around and assume I'd take her instead of getting the message and calling someone else. She just stared at me. I think she was shocked I actually stood up to her. With that, I walked to my car and drove off. I really hope she never tries to do that to me or to any of our other coworkers, to be honest. You need to report Melanie's harassment to your head librarian. This will escalate. OP. I will if anything gets worse. She's more of an all bark, no bite kind of person, so I doubt she'll do anything else besides complaining about me. It would still be a good idea to let your boss know, just in case. She may be all bark, but that doesn't mean that she can't keep barking until it may as well turn into a bite. And if she's willing to stay several hours after you implicitly told her no, then she's all too willing to go to the same lengths to get you in trouble for this slight against her. As always, document this sort of thing, just in case it does escalate. Am I the jerk for calling my boyfriend's baby's mother after he left him with me because of an emergency? I, 26 female, have been with Marcus, 30 male, for 4 months. He has an 11-month-old son from his former relationship. I only saw this baby twice because I don't like babies, and his mother has already expressed several times that she doesn't feel comfortable with me seeing her baby because she doesn't know me and doesn't trust me. I don't judge her for that. Both times I met him, it was by chance on the street while Marcus and I were together and found the mother and grandmother on the street with a baby. Yes, it was super weird. And before you ask, we aren't considered dating, although we are currently exclusive. We're just friends with benefits who are too lazy to meet other people, and we're comfortable with each other. We never sleep over at each other's house and only meet in the middle of the week, as he has guard over the baby's weekends. Saturday afternoon, Marcus showed up at my home with his son and said he needed help because there was an emergency in the family and he needed to go to the city where they live, and it would be impossible to go with the baby, 2 hours away. The mother and maternal grandparents had traveled. He didn't even allow me to answer. He just gave me the baby and the bag with everything and left. I tried calling and texting, but he just told me to suck it up for a few hours, and then he would reward me because it was an emergency. I don't know how to take care of babies. I really don't feel comfortable, and he knows that very well. And after several times telling him to come back because I don't want to be responsible for taking care of the baby, he just hung up his phone. I thought about calling the police, but I decided to text the baby's mother on Instagram, telling her the situation. His godmother showed up not even 10 minutes later to pick him up. At night, Marcus came home yelling that I caused a huge mess since he asked for a favor because of an emergency, and I was the only one who accepted, the others couldn't, and that I caused an unnecessary problem with his custody since the mother would file a request for a review. Obviously, we're done. I would like an opinion from the outside. Some friends sided with me, others did not. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. He didn't ask for your help. He just left his kid at your place. Sounds like his kid's mother has every reason to request a review of the custody agreement. Considering the mother got someone to get the kid immediately after you told her the situation, I doubt he exhausted all of his options before dumping his baby on you. I doubt he even asked the mother. Mother has every right to call in a review. To be honest, even if you didn't mind and were willing to help him out, he shouldn't be leaving his infant with you, someone he's been casually seeing for only a few months. And the gaslighting is unreal from him. Not the jerk, you dodged a huge bullet here. Bad partner, bad father. Complying with a resignation request. Recently, our OG manager, who was fantastic, just left. One of the biggest things he did for our team was to keep the higher-ups from meddling in our day-to-day lives. As long as we hit our targets, we could pretty much do as we please. Want to work from home 4 days a week? No stress. Want to go out on the road and meet clients face to face instead of meeting over Zoom or the phone? Be his guest. Feel like closing all your deals at 2 a.m. every night and not logging on until 3 p.m. the next day? Why not? Basically, do whatever. Let him know and hit the targets. It was all cool by him. You get the drift. Because of this, our team works very hard and constantly hit targets. With myself and a few others doing so well, we recently got promoted. Personally, I got the 2IC job to work with new manager, show him the ropes, train the new staff, etc. However, OG manager leaves as he can't take the stress from the higher-ups breathing down his neck about his management style. Even though we constantly make and exceed targets, they are unhappy as he's not doing it through their formula. About a week or so after OG manager leaves, the new manager and pretty much another sales team are hired. New manager is essentially just a yes man for the higher-ups. Our super awesome workspace goes downhill. We're required to be in the office 5 days a week, 9 to 5, given a set seating plan, and spend our time cold calling, not relationship building. We do this for a few weeks. The older reps who worked for OG manager aren't having the best time, as not only are we now dealing with this shocking environment, plus we have to train new staff and the new manager on the systems, the product, meaning we really have no time to sell. Then we have a meeting. New manager starts going on about the importance of the new system as it will increase sales, which in turn will increase our commission. Now we get to the good part. The head office lady came down for this meeting. She doesn't have much day-to-day in the sales stuff. She's quiet until the end when she pipes up, saying how this company has room for growth, is willing to promote internally, uses me, and points out me and some of the older sales reps as examples. She then goes on to ask for the resignation of anyone who doesn't believe her way will work by 5 p.m. the next day. Me and the other sales reps who were there with OG manager simply comply with her request and hand our notice periods in at the end of the next day, leaving the company with a sales team that consists of a manager that doesn't know anything about the product or role and a totally fresh team of newbie starters who have no idea what they're doing, who will not get anywhere near the target for a long time. How I shut down my Karen cousin's business. This happened in 2019, but it recently came up. I, 21 female, live in Canada, and I was planning a trip to my native country in 2019. My cousin, 23 at the time, asked if I could bring some items back. She explained that her father's side of the family, unknown to me, was having a wedding, and that buying cultural clothes in our native country is much cheaper than buying it here in Canada. She asked for 6 dresses and agreed to pay me for the items, plus a little extra for my troubles. I agreed, mostly on the basis that it's for family. It was a pain. I had to compromise on my own clothing, shopping, etc. in order to make space for her stuff. I made it back to Canada, and to her credit, she paid me the agreed amount. Now, here's the kicker. I was scrolling through Instagram a few days later and saw a post from her business page. She sells cerise at a slight discount relative to those sold in Canadian stores. Sure enough, the next few images were the 6 dresses that I had hauled over from 14,000 kilometers away. She called it the wedding collection and marked everything up to the point where selling just 3 dresses would cover the full cost of everything I got plus the inconvenience amount she provided. I saw red. She took advantage of my kindness, and even if the wedding was real, she obviously didn't use any of this stuff, and it was clear that it was premeditated. This is where I may have been the jerk. In my anger, I immediately commented on her Instagram post, telling the truth about how she had lied to me as I had brought all of this back for her, and that I could prove it. Plenty of people DM'd me, and I provided. Within minutes, she called me and gave me an earful about how I just did over her entire family because they were depending on this income. She's got 2 adult brothers, late 20s, and her parents, early 50s. In my opinion, someone can work. I told her that I would have still helped her if she was honest with me about the business, but that lying to me and adding me to her supply chain is really crappy. The conversation ended, and so did our ties. Ever since then, her business has seen a considerable decrease in public interaction, and some still leave comments about the crap she pulled. People have thanked me for speaking up, as she had done the same to them, but they stayed quiet to preserve ties. Others have called me a jerk for destroying the business of a relative. In my opinion, the business was destroyed the moment she started slithering, and it was only a matter of time before someone spoke up. I do feel bad if I genuinely did over the rest of her family, which is why I'm wondering if I should have just shut up. So Reddit, was I the jerk for speaking the truth? Edit. Wow, this is really blowing up, and I understand that there are mixed feelings about it. Don't worry, I recognize that I may have overshot my response to the situation. I'll explain my judgment to bring it up publicly, and hopefully that helps everyone make their decisions. I can definitely see why I was rash for bringing it up publicly. I do still think that, even though it was a jerk move on my part, dealing with it privately wouldn't have gone anywhere. If I had brought it up to her first, as from her natural character, there's a big chance she could have blocked me off of the only social media that her business is on, so I couldn't have spread the message to the poor souls buying these clothes. I feel like I got very lucky that she messed up and posted it to the page that I was following. If I had brought it up to her privately, she would have realized her mistake and been more cunning the way that she went about this in the future, like making sure she blocks the transporter from the page so they have no idea. I feel like I took this one mess up and didn't let go of the chance. Also, I think the whole "she would have used it as a lesson learned" thing would have only really applied if she was unknowingly doing something wrong and was willing to take criticism or learn from a situation. However, seeing that she has repeatedly lied to people, and she was 23 years old at the time as well, it was clear that she was doing this with malicious intent. As in, she knew she was lying, she knew that it was wrong, and still went with it. That didn't sit right with me. Edit 2. A lot of people are asking why I didn't just say no. I've detailed this a bit more in the comments, but essentially there was a massive family expectation for me to help her out because of this supposed wedding. There was a lot of pressure and guilt tripping that resulted every time I tried to argue that I needed space in my luggage. Stuff like, "Oh, you can't do this for family because you need to shop so much, right? If you can't even do this for your cousin, imagine what happens when your parents get old. Guess they'll end up in a senior home because you can't make space for them either." It gets brutal, and this kind of stuff is deeply rooted in my culture. I know that there will be some people who don't understand this, and that's fine. Just hold the assumption that I had no other choice but to agree to help her. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her cousin? Please let us know.
Definitely the cousin. She should have been honest about this from the get-go, not lie and manipulate the way she did. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.